Always fun watching a game that ends in the first quarter, which is a bit rare in today's NBA given the fact that you can fall behind pretty substantially and come back quickly in a game given the way teams shoot threes these days. Case in point when the Bulls were down 22-1 against the Miami Heat in the first quarter and then ended up winning that game, or the opposite where the Bulls had a 25-plus point lead against the Nets the other day and then ended up losing that lead in just the second quarter. But in this one, it was truly over in the first quarter, and the Bulls, after falling behind by as many as 25 in the first, never were able to bring the lead back to within 15 for the rest of the game. They had a couple runs here and there where you thought, they may be able to get some stops, maybe find some kind of surge to at least make the game respectable, but every time the Sixers responded with a bunch of threes, forcing turnovers, and they never allowed the Bulls to get any kind of traction to get back into this game. But as great as the Sixers were with their lights out shooting, the Bulls also didn't do themselves any favors with how poorly they played overall. Like, this was truly one of the worst games we've seen since all of those bad games back to start the season. The Bulls started this game off not being able to hit anything, going 0 for 9 from 3. They shot like 17% from the field in the first quarter alone, while the Sixers shot 70%, hitting every shot that they were throwing up, it seemed like. Letting Embiid get whatever he wanted, even when they tried to double him, he just is too good of a passer to find an open man, which enabled guys like Kelly Oubre, Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey to get a ton of open looks. And look, I didn't expect the Bulls to win this game, not with Embiid back in the lineup and the Bulls being so short-handed with no Vucevic, of course no Zach Lavine, Torrey Craig, and it made matters worse when Patrick Williams injured himself in the second quarter with that ankle injury and he didn't return to the court. Coby White also went back to the locker room for a period of time because of that lingering wrist injury to his right hand. He did return to the bench eventually, but wouldn't come back into the game because it was more or less over by that point, which you have to hope. Anyway, both of those guys are going to be okay. The last thing you want is to have injuries to 2 or more of your starters and your younger ones at that. And for Coby and that wrist injury, I mean, you'd have to think that's impacting his shooting. I know he said to the media that, he had that thing taped up and was experiencing pain even before when he was shooting the ball well, but in seeing him go back to the locker room holding that wrist, you almost kind of want that to be the case to explain his shooting slump, because otherwise, damn, he's really going through it right now. Just cannot hit anything from outside. Tonight was 0 for 5 from 3 overall. Struggled to even get close range shots to fall down. Was 5 for 15 from the floor. 14 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. A minus 26 in this game. That said, everyone in the starting lineup had a pretty bad Pox plus minus given how this game started out. The only guy who was somewhat efficient from the floor was DeMar DeRozan, who was 5 for 10 with 16 points. Alex Caruso, who has been so consistent and efficient with his three-point shooting, he went cold, was 1 for 6 from 3. Javon Carter hoisted up a bunch. He was 3 for 8 from deep. The Bulls shot 7 for 37 from three-point range, 19%. Just brutal. Not to mention the fact that they shot 38% overall from the field. 18 turnovers as well for a team that has been so good at protecting the ball. Granted, some of that can be attributed to guys who normally are out of the rotation, getting some run, as well as garbage time beginning much earlier tonight. Now, I'll talk about some of the small positives from this game, but I'll address Andre Drummond because Drummond, while overall had an okay game, he obviously did what he does best in crashing the boards, 17 rebounds in 28 minutes, but a game like this, and also just the fact that Drummond and his performances are a bit up and down, is case in point why he doesn't start. Again, I love Andre Drummond. I mentioned before he's slowly becoming one of my favorite players in this team because he knows what it takes to be a good teammate, accepts his role, and is quite honestly one of the best backup fives in the NBA. But it's his decision-making, the head-scratching things he does sometimes on the court, and the miscues on defense, especially when it comes to going up against some of the best centers in the NBA, as we saw tonight against Joel Embiid and the other night against Miles Turner and the Pacers. He was great tonight when it came to crashing the offensive glass. Like, with the amount of misses the Bulls had in this game, Embiid really should have had 25 or so rebounds, but Drummond alone had 10 offensive boards to give the Bulls second chance opportunities. But Drummond in this one just seemed a little slower, a step behind in most possessions on Embiid, wasn't closing out, wasn't coming over for the help defense when guys were driving to the paint off a screen. Just some basic stuff on defense. I'm not going to fault Andre Drummond too much because he had to go up against Joel Embiid tonight, and the fact that he looked a little gassed and lethargic out there, that was really more of a product of everyone on the team not really looking into it, not really giving it their all in this game. And while I'm going to try and not overreact and say, oh boy, this is the Bulls going back to their old ways and not responding well to adversity, because every team has bad games, and this was certainly one of those for the Bulls. But it was concerning to see the Bulls come out very flat, not having any energy or fight in them to try and get back into this game. But anyway, like I said, the positives from this one. we got our first look at Adama Sanogo. He scored his first NBA point. It was garbage time, but he did go 3 for 3, had 6 rebounds in just 9 minutes. You know, it did make you think, hey, it would be nice to actually see this guy while Vucevic is out of the lineup backing up Andre Drummond over someone like Terry Taylor, who's much smaller, but Taylor actually has done a decent job in that role, and we might have seen different results from Sanogo if this was non-garbage time minutes. Also, Julian Phillips, finally seeing him get some minutes again, who for some reason fell out of the rotation after actually getting meaningful minutes when Zach Lavine was initially out of the lineup. I say it every time, but I like what I see from this kid every time he comes onto the court. He's still very raw, needs to put on some weight, but he's actually a smart player for his age. Very athletic, makes the right plays, and just makes his presence known when he's on the court, which is saying a lot for a rookie who has barely gotten any minutes in the NBA. Dude had 3 blocks tonight to go along with 7 points. And then Dalen Terry, if only this guy could develop a jump shot. It's just so bad. I believe he had 2 air balls from 3 in this one, wide open on both of them. It was the right shot. I'm not mad that he took those, but my dude, with a jump shot like that, you're going to struggle to make it in this league. Because you look at everything else Dalen Terry does, and he's actually an impactful player in other areas outside of scoring. Feisty on defense, knows how to push the ball in transition and make the right passes. He had 8 rebounds and 7 assists in 21 minutes. Like, if he can just get that shot going, the Bulls could have something here. Until then, though, you're seeing a guy who's going to continue to have a hard time cracking the Bulls' rotation. He's easy to root for because he plays with so much energy and hustles every time he's out there, but dude needs to be working with Peter Patton specifically, needs to be sticking to that guy like glue and working on that shot every day for hours on end, because damn. But anyway, not sure what else there is to say about this game. It was bad. Bulls got blown out, and it was non-competitive throughout this one. The Bulls fall back to 15-20, which hurts considering the Nets lost yet again tonight, who have been sliding like crazy, and the Bulls could have moved up to 9th in the standings, but they remain 10th for now, and unfortunately, they're right back at it tomorrow in a back-to-back in New York against the Knicks with the new addition of OG Anunoby. Hopefully the Bulls shake this one off as just a really bad game and come out ready and focused for tomorrow, especially since the game is going to be on national TV. Until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.